Well, hello there. I'm Randi Fine, narcissistic abuse expert and coach to clients worldwide, author of the newly released Close Encounters of the Worst Kind, second edition, which I really encourage you to pick up a copy. It's really even better than the first one. And today we have with us Christiana Davidson. She is a narcissistic abuse psychotherapist and hypnotherapist. And today we're going to be talking about narcissistic abuse and money. And there's so many different ways to go with this. So Christy, I think first we're going to start with talking about how it affects us in the family or as children, what kind of influence this has on us.
Randi, just to say thank you so much for having me back on your show, and to talk about this topic of the impact of having a narcissist in your life, particularly from the familial setting, is what I'm going to speak about today. But the impact of that on our beliefs about being able to flourish, our beliefs about being able to have all we need and more in life. It's really an area that I feel hasn't been explored that much. And it's really crucial. I often think, when clients come to me, when I see them begin to start flourishing financially, I know that deep shifts have taken place within, because this is the impact of having a narcissist in your life. They affect your inner world. They come in and they take over your beliefs about yourself and your self-worth. And we know that money and self-worth are very, very linked. So when you have a narcissistic parent or you're growing up in a narcissistic family system, sort of behind the scenes, it's all about money. It really is. It's all about the money. And there's a popular song, it's all about the money and the finance. And it is because whoever holds the money has power.
You're right.
And whoever's holding the money has the power in the narcissistic family. And if it's a narcissistic parent who has the money, this is an abuser who holds the power.
Okay.
And they use money in many ways as a substitute for love. Quite often, money becomes a fake love. But because as a child growing up, you depend on your parents to meet your basic needs. You depend on your parents for money to have your needs met. It makes you vulnerable.
You're right.
Especially when you're dependent on a narcissist to have your basic needs met. But you see, the other thing about money, it's not only about basic needs, it's also about thriving and flourishing and independence. So we've got these two things that narcissistic parents use to their full advantage. On the one hand, they know they have power over you because you depend on them providing money to meet your basic needs. But on the other hand, they also have power over you because they can allow you to flourish and thrive when they say and when it benefits them. So there's a real dynamic here of using money to completely control you.
Right. And just a thought right there is, many people will say, well, my parents took care of all my basic needs. They put a roof over my head. They fed me. They gave me piano lessons. And and they took me to school and so forth and so on. And these are very basic needs. And these are needs that every parent is required to give a child. But children are made to believe that every single thing given to them, they owe back.
Yes.
And this also happens when parents extend loans to us and things like that, buy us a house, pull us out of a situation and give us money. It always seems so generous, but really what's behind the scenes is control, right?
Exactly. Yes, Randi, you hit the nail on the head there. This giving is always transactional. That's how narcissists view the world. I do something for you, but there's a requirement after. It's conditional. It's conditional. So when it comes to meeting your basic needs, yes, they will have done all of those things, but behind the scenes, they will also have threatened to no longer do them. So publicly you're seen as, oh gosh, so loved and cared for, and really, gosh, such good parents. But behind the scenes, you're being threatened with, I'm just going to leave. I'm going to up and leave if you don't comply. Or this threat of this guilt of being cared for is really at the heart of these parental relationships with their children. So there's this threat that they're going to withdraw their love, but this is fake love. Money's not love.
No.
It's not. So they threaten to withdraw their love from you, meaning withdraw your livelihood from you. And as a result, we're kind of always in fear of money not coming in.
Yes. How many of us have heard our fathers or even mothers say to us, I gave it to you and I can just as easily take it away,
Yes, exactly.
I've give you a roof to live under. And I can just as easily take it all away from you. And that's not loving at all.
It's not. That's abuse.
It is abuse.
It's threatening and making people comply to your agenda. You see that on the one hand, they threaten to take it away, and on the other hand, then they intermittently reward with money.
Right.
So it's kind of, they give gifts and treats when they want to. It's on their terms. Oh, now you're able to have a reward or a treat when I say. And so money becomes in our minds this huge thing. It becomes like, oh my goodness, it becomes like a god in our lives, actually. It has the ability to determine how we feel, and narcissistic parents use it as a means of kind of the answer to their lack of parenting. So for us, money becomes a substitute parent. And I'm just going to leave that there for a moment because I come back to it in a minute.
Okay.
Because as we know, when you're growing up with narcissistic parents, you actually internalize the narcissist, and that narcissist then runs the show, the internalized one. So if we're equating money and an internalized narcissist who's going to withdraw it at any minute or is going to bless us randomly, that's going to be what plays out in our relationship with money in adulthood. So like we were saying, with narcissists, everything is a transaction. And this is a key thing here. I mean, you've touched on it there already, Randi. They make us feel indebted to them for all the financial sacrifices they've made to clothe and feed you.
I just wrote down the word sacrifices. Good. Keep going.
So you can see, as a child, you're feeling indebted to your parents. But you see, the thing is, what happens is we take on the belief. Now, these negative beliefs are key to be able to work with. This is what we both do with clients, actually, is pull out these negative beliefs.
Right.
But the one I'm suggesting here that we take on particularly is that I am a financial burden. Now, can you imagine having this negative belief subconsciously playing out in our minds? I am a financial burden. Now, here we get adults, clients coming to me saying, look, I just can't seem to, I can't find any work that pays me well. I need to, I'm on benefits, or I'm, all of these things. This is where it comes from, these beliefs that are there behind the scenes that we've taken on. Now, deeper than that, so one is I'm a financial burden. From that, there's another one, and we've said it here almost. If we're raised by parents who make us feel like we're a burden in any way, not even just financially, we come out believing that we are in debt. Now, here's the other belief. I am in debt. How is it possible for somebody to come out of a narcissistic family system and flourish with beliefs like, I am a financial burden and I am in debt?
Wow. Huge. That's a huge point.
It is, isn't it? This just dawned on me as I was preparing for this show, that these two things, in fact, this in debt bit is key, I think.
And I think that thought process, I'm going to just progressing on that topic, is something that gets us into toxic relationships as adults, because we feel very indebted to people who do kind things for us. And we are trained in childhood or conditioned in childhood for that mentality. So I really like where you're going with this.
Yes, you're so right, Randi. It sets us up then to finding other people who we can be in debt to.
Yes.
And not only the bank manager.
Right.
Although that does play a big part too, In fact, speaking about this, I think it also relates, if you're a person of faith or you have a belief in God, this really can be projected out onto our relationship with God. This sense of only being rewarded when we're good, of it being withdrawn, of being in debt and not deserving of flourishing, can really play out in all aspects of our lives, in the spiritual too. And money and spirituality, I think, are really linked. I'd love to explore that further at some point. Not today, but
are you talking about as far as the institutions of religion, or in what way, just generally?
No, not the institutions as such, although I'm sure that's something that does play into it. I was just thinking of individual people's image or relationship with God personally. It can be that it's a projection of the narcissistic parent, of the narcissist,
right?
Keeping us enslaved.
Right.
So our familiar space, our familiar way of being, is to be in debt. And often there can be this struggle to get out of it. But saying that, others may find themselves sort of in literal financial debt. They may experience ebbs and flows. That they may not be in literal financial debt, but they may experience ebbs and flows in income. Sometimes they have reward flowing in for their hard work and being good. At other times, it's suddenly withdrawn, mimicking the narcissistic parent who threatens to withdraw it. They try to work harder and be better, believing that they need to earn their rewards, they need to earn their flourishing, they need to earn their basic needs. And it's based on others having the power to give it to me when they want to.
And one of the issues that adult children of narcissistic abuse have some are overachievers and some are underachievers. And it's usually one or the other, unless they work through it. And the overachievers, they've been made to believe that their worth depends entirely on how much they can make and how much they can produce. The underachievers have been defeated so many times that it's stressful for them to even enter that arena.
Yes.
So they just get dissuaded from accomplishing anything and pushing themselves forward because it brings on tremendous stress for them. So this has you're right, this has a huge impact on us as we go through childhood and into adulthood.
Yes, absolutely. It's all, like you say there, it's all to do with our self-worth, really, and where we seek to find it. I'm just seeing here, you know, we're groomed in these narcissistic families to give and give and then maybe receive. So we're groomed to,
and when we receive, we feel like it's this massive thing. But when we look back at it, you know, it's just a crumb. It's usually just a crumb.
Yes.
In terms of everything.
Yes. Yes. We're grateful for crumbs. I like how you put that, Randi. And this idea that, you know, to flourish just for yourself is selfish. That to flourish is not about you, it's about giving it to others. You flourish for others. If you're wanting to just sort of thrive for you, that's something that's bad. It's got to be about your thriving being of use to your narcissistic parent or to others. And that's a difficult place to be, actually, because, you know, we can almost become a bit defensive with our finances, because, you know, it's almost like we feel under threat the whole time, that if I thrive, somebody's going to snatch it from me. There's a sense of sort of almost being on guard, because, you know, in a narcissistic family, even with siblings and parents as well, it's all about snatch. You know, if you have any good, others want it and they're going to take it from you. Right. And it's true, that is what it's like in a narcissistic family. It's like a playground.
Their entitlement.
Yeah. So we can end up being quite shut down in our own lives, you know, sort of almost feel a feeling of hoarding it, for fear that others are going to take it. And of course that stops the flow of life coming into us and the flow of money, because money is energy, they say, don't they?
That's right. And, you know, if you think about narcissists, and we'll get into this a little bit more, you know, in a few minutes. If you think about narcissists, money means everything to them, because it can be their identity. And whether they have it or they don't have it, they're going to flaunt it as if they do. And generally, they're very successful because they have to be. That's where their flow of narcissistic supply comes from, other than their intimate relationships. They must have this impressive image. So I would imagine that, you know, although this is part of the personality disorder and it's a big part of it, I would imagine that it's influenced by the things that you're saying in childhood. Absolutely.
Yes. For sure. Yes, you see, it's until we do the inner work ourselves, psychically, even if we're not in contact with our narcissistic parent or the narcissist, psychically, we're still in a vampire relationship. You know, this is what we're talking about here. Subconsciously, we're still in a vampire relationship. So when we internalize the narcissist, and when I say that, I mean that internalized voice that criticizes us, that keeps us in line with the narcissist. The narcissist keeps us safe. That is keeping us psychically serving a vampire. And so when we have these beliefs of I'm not deserving, I'm a burden, I'm in debt, I don't deserve to flourish, because that isn't really what the narcissist wants, only if it serves them. You know, what are our chances of being able to find the financial joy that we're searching for? Because, you know, money equals independence as well, and narcissists don't want us independent, they want us dependent.
That's exactly right.
Even when we have financial independence, they still want us dependent on them, and that will be either by means of guilt, so guilt about, you know, or a sense of needing to serve them, support them, or it's in terms of our self-esteem being reliant on them, so us being dependent emotionally on them and psychologically, not being able to separate on that level. So money and dependence are key here. And often, you know, clients do come to me never truly having been able to find the courage to leave their narcissist, whether it's a parent or a partner, because ultimately they know all the stuff, they know all about what's going on, but this person holds the key to their basic needs being met.
So true.
And that's what, you know, where did we learn that?
Huge
Childhood.
point. That's huge.
Isn't it? This is what keeps people. I hear it time and again, Randi, you know, people have come to the point they've watched all the YouTube videos, they can call out the abusive behavior, they can see it, but that last break is the financial one, because it was the first one. Often the allure of this kind of the lure of having more than your basic needs met is often the case in these narcissistic relationships.
Yes, you're so right. And, you know, in relationships, narcissists use finances and money to abuse their partners. And generally what they do is part of the love bombing, the initial love bombing, is they say, oh, I want to take care of you. You can quit your job. You don't need to get a degree. I'll take care of everything, you know, just stay home and you'll have everything you need. And often we give up a lot for these relationships, believing that this person loves us so much that they will take care of us. And then once the campaign of abuse begins, we find ourselves stuck because we have no way to support ourselves, to take care of ourselves. And we are not only emotionally and psychologically dependent, we are now financially dependent. And that makes it—
Which is the key.
It is.
This is the key dependence.
It really is. And, you know, it's really important that when you're in an adult relationship like this, that you do not blindly trust your partner. Really, whether you know that they're a narcissist or not, because you should know where the money is, where it comes from. But often what they'll do is, even if sometimes they'll send you to work and then they'll take the paycheck. And so
Yeah.
you still don't have that independence.
No. What you're saying there is so true, Randi. You know, this creation of financial dependence is really at the heart of things here. It's sort of it's like we are lured in by this promise that we will be given all the comfort, the life, the security we need, because that is our deepest longing. We didn't get it in childhood. And so the narcissist knows, I can draw this person into me by offering them all the things the person needed from their mother. They're being the mother that the vulnerable person has always wanted, someone who is going to, you know, just adore them, is going to spoil them, is going to lavish them with all the treats unconditionally, and is going to, you know, provide the most wonderful life of unconditional love. And of course, it's all fake, just as it was, you know, in childhood. That they know exactly what to offer to draw us, to get us hooked in.
And you know, and in some cases they'll do things like, and I've heard this, you've probably heard this as well, where the non-narcissistic spouse, or the targeted spouse, I should say, is put on a really strict budget when they know
Yes.
that their partner is bringing in maybe hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and they are put on such a tight budget. And then you have to beg for every little thing that you want.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It's they have to come in and take over control of the finances, because if the finances aren't in their control, they can't reign supreme.
That's right. And you know, and this is why they often dissuade, even if they've allowed you to keep your career and now you're getting ready to advance in your career, they will talk you out of it. They'll put you down. They'll give you every reason in the world why you should not do that, because that's freedom for you, and it's loss of control for them.
Yes. Yes, you see, what they're doing here is, it's not only, you know, it's like we're saying, you know, yes, it's about the money, but it's actually about your potential in life, your potential to flourish, to be free and to thrive. That's got to be stopped. That's got to be stopped at all costs. All these financial
right, all these right,
words.
double entendres. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know that it really is about you being supply, and money is supply for the narcissist too. So really, you are just seen as another financial exchange for the narcissist. This is another investment for them in their own flourishing.
You're right.
It's not about you flourishing, it's about them flourishing, and you are going to be used for that in some way, shape, or form.
Right. So, and you know, it becomes very difficult, especially for women in these families who have children and must leave because the abuse is so intolerable. The children are being destroyed, they're being destroyed, and yet they don't have any money. And I was at this point at one point in my life where I had to leave a very abusive relationship with an infant, and maybe not even a nickel to my name. And it's terrifying, but when you have to go, you have to go. And often women will stay in these relationships because they think
Mm.
it's better for them to stick with what they know than to go out into this world not knowing how they're going to survive. Because now we're talking about survival.
Mm.
So I really believe that, I think that life takes care of things, but it is a very scary proposition to set yourself up in a way where you do not know how your next dollar is going to be made.
No. It's so scary, Randi, you know, to finally pluck up the courage to say, no, I'm going to rely on me. I'm going to step out of the narcissistic relationship I'm in, where he keeps me with the threat of death, ultimately.
Right.
And it's the same thing in childhood, the threat of death. You know, if mum and dad leave, then I won't be able to survive. So it's the same thing in adulthood.
It is.
They know that they hold that over you, that you're going to stay because your survival rests on them. But as soon as you realize, no, it doesn't rest on you, well, then victory is in the air because they've lost all grip. They've lost their grip over you. And you get the first sense then of your own, the first sort of breath of freedom, the first sort of independence, sort of this spreading your wings. You realize, hang on a second, I can do this. I can. And actually, what usually happens is it's incredible how things come around to support you.
They do.
You know, we think we're going to be abandoned and on our own, but you know, we're not. When we're walking a true path, when we're doing what's right, not that it's it's a judgment thing, but it's, you know, when we're walking in the truth and walking
For our
towards our
better good.
flourishing.
For our better good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what we're called to do in this life. We are called to do that. And the universe, I'm being spiritual again, but the universe or God, you will find, people will come, you will get what you need.
You're right.
And that can be so liberating. You know, it's not that it's not that it's not going to be, it will be, it can be difficult, is what I'm trying to say. It's not that it's going to be easy and, you know, just,
Mhm.
you know, walking into a $1 million mansion, but it will require strength and
Tenacity.
there you go. There you go. But what happens is you are financially free, and there's nothing greater. There's nothing there, you know, that is real freedom, actually, is financial freedom.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm.
And so there, you know, there's things, it's very difficult as a child to protect yourself from financial abuse. But as an adult, it's important that you are diligent about things. One thing is credit cards. For instance,
Mm.
and this actually happened to me as well. My credit was pristine. And when I left this relationship, all I had was my credit. I had nothing else. And this person destroyed my credit. So then I didn't have money and I didn't have credit. So you've got to be super careful about things like, you know, joint credit cards and joint bank accounts. The other thing is that they often will encourage you to go into business with them. A lot of times have you put in a significant amount of money towards the business, and then you're locked in. But if you go into a business with a partner and you do not have legal protection, if you're doing it just on a handshake, basically, which you should never do, no matter how much you think you trust your partner, if you're going into business with your partner, you must have it all legal, because narcissists will do that. They'll suck you in and then they'll take it from you or use it against you. There are so many different ways, that narcissists try to incapacitate you and hold you back. It's not because they want you. It's just that they don't want to lose the control they have over you.
Yeah. Yes, it's like being in the playground, and because if we know that narcissists are emotionally between the age of 2 and 3. So we have a narcissist here who sees all the toys you've got and is so entitled and grandiose that they believe that they should have those toys, and you can see them going, mine, 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 mine. It's all for me. So this is the sort of mentality that happens in these narcissistic relationships. They'll do anything to rob you of what's rightfully yours, because ultimately they hate you for having it. They do. There's the deepest resentment there, and they almost see it as an affront them, as if you believe you're better than them somehow, right, or that you're flaunting it in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they always have to one up you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that they tend to do in terms of money is, I often hear, well, how could this person be a narcissist? They're very involved in the church. They give lots of money to charity. They're big in the community. And
yes,
this is their way of buying fame and fortune to impress other people. And narcissists don't have a charitable bone in their body. There's nothing charitable about them. But most of them do very charitable things. And but it's all for recognition.
Yes, I love it, Randi. I think what you're saying there is that narcissists tend to invest in things that are investing in themselves. So they're investing in their false self. They use their money as an investment. So everything is calculated. And we learn, when we're with a narcissist, that we're not worth investing in. We're there to invest in others, in the others' lives, in others' dreams and potential. So we can find, actually, as adults, that we find it very hard, to invest in ourselves. That can feel unfamiliar. But also, we can also sometimes shut down from being open to investing in anything else or anyone else, because we've woken up and seen, how we've been used in the past, how our investing in others was used and abused. So we can almost shut down ourselves. And I often find it with clients, there can be a sense of, I don't want to pay for this, or whatever it might be. I don't want to invest in that because it's just this other person using me. When sometimes actually we need to step out of it and be able to see, well, I'm investing not only in this, I'm investing in me by doing this, but I'm also investing in the bigger picture. And it's okay to invest in others to flourish as well. That's not something necessarily that we have to hold back from, although that's what we've been familiar with, having been in a narcissistic relationship.
Exactly. And I think that really the major point of all of this is that we understand how much of our lives have been affected by our childhood. And this doesn't lie in a conscious place in our minds. So we get very frustrated with ourselves because we keep telling ourselves, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I overcome this? I should be able to overcome this. This isn't that hard. And people say, get over it. But I think the message here, one of the messages, because there's many really good ones, is that there are many deep-seated issues that we carry around with us as narcissistic abuse victims and survivors that we don't have access to, but they impact so many areas of our lives. And it's why you do the work you do. It's why I do the work I do, and why others are focusing on this, because we understand that to release you from this, you must have someone that can give you some tools to do this. You can't necessarily do this on your own. What do you think?
No, I totally agree with you, Randi. You know, that's why I use psychotherapy on the cognitive, but also hypnotherapy on the subconscious, because the subconscious controls 95% minimum of our beliefs, behaviors, and actions. So, you know, these deep-seated beliefs about money and flourishing and abundance, you know, these are key to work on that subconscious level, because sometimes we're not even aware of these beliefs, of these blockages, as they call them. I don't really like to use the word blockages. It's more like an introject, some might call it. And we need to, if we want to move things along really quickly and deeply, and to be able to see the impact, well, it's my belief we have to work on the subconscious.
Yes, that word quickly is very important. And I just wanted to emphasize that, because when you work with someone who does not have this kind of education or training, quickly is not a word that gets used. It's a slow process, and often you never get to the core of the issues. When you work with someone who specializes in this, it is quick.
It is.
Release can be very quick. And I think that's something that deters people, because the first instinct was to go to psychotherapy and cognitive therapy, and they've been in it for years and years, and they still are hurting. They're still in pain. They're still suffering the same old messages in their head. And so they're reluctant to have sessions with someone like you or myself, because they think it's going to be the same thing. But it's real important for people to understand that it's not at all the same thing. We dive in. We dive into the core. We release all that stuff, and it can be very quick. So what kind of advice do you have for people who are seeing themselves, as we talk about these financial issues, they're seeing that they're having the same problems, and what kind of tips can you give for people to help them work through it, or to motivate them to work through it?
Well, first of all, you know, even if you are experiencing financial difficulties in your life, just remember that the present is a window into what needs to be healed from the past.
Yes.
And when you're able to sit with that and not go into panic, but allow the feelings to come up, allow yourself to make links to where this is coming from, because really what it's expressing here is a belief system that is still running the show in your life. So once you're able to sort of begin to see it like that, as opposed to trying to trying to hold it all together and make everything right because it's gone wrong. Well, no, this is actually your healing playing out here. And sometimes, you know, the more desperate it gets or the more dark it can get, it's actually the sign that there's a big breakthrough about to happen. So I really encourage people who are, I mean, I've been through this myself, you know, you know, we're saying that financial control is the first way that we're controlled in these narcissistic relationships, and it's the last. Well, we have to sort of go through our fears when we're healing. But I have to say, it does pass, and it's really worth this inner journey, because ultimately you do discover that you can rely on yourself, and that actually life wants you to. The universe, God is wanting you to do this because you are called to thrive. You are called to thrive, and we have to step out of not thriving, of being used and abused in order to do that.
That's
So be
exactly
brave.
Yeah. How do we move past our fears? Because we have so many of them often, having been through, whether it's started in childhood or it started with an adult relationship. Sometimes fears can be very paralyzing.
They can. And, you know, look, I think it is important to find people around you who are supportive, who, you know, they can be few and far between, but to know that you do have some people on your side, or that you can share your fears with, can be a great support, because it can be a lonely journey, but that's okay too. You know, it is okay. Sometimes we do have to walk these paths alone.
Right.
I think also, you know, if you can develop a relationship with your inner child, because often when we're afraid, it's actually the inner child in us that's worried that we're stepping out of the familiar. That the inner child wants to keep us in those old toxic patterns because it's all it knows.
You're right.
And so when you're feeling fear, it's not that it's a bad sign. It's actually, okay, this is the feeling of healing. If you can begin an inner dialogue, you know, almost sitting with yourself and just, you know, going within, almost imagining your younger you as you were with a child, and maybe just allowing her to be in the room with you, and, you know, asking her, tell mummy, what are you feeling? What's going on? What are you afraid of? And soothing and encouraging her that, you know, don't worry, I'm in control now. You don't have to be afraid. I've got this. You don't need
Inner
to.
child work is so powerful, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because we all carry that inner child with us. It doesn't matter if you're a big strapping truck driver, you know, or you're a domestic worker. It doesn't matter. We all carry our inner child with us, and there's no perfect childhood. There are always wounds. But, you know, I think it's important to understand that fear is a relationship to the future, and it's something we cannot predict. And we can make ourselves crazy. And I think, you know, anyone can think back to something they feared and worried about, and it never plays out how you build it up, to the degree that you build it up. It never, ever does. And so staying present, really kind of keeping yourself where you are now, and out of that future fearing, can be much more grounding.
Yes. And I think they say as well, you know, fear is sort of masking usually some excitement.
True.
of the possibilities, you know, that stepping out might bring.
That's very true. So Christiana, tell us a little bit about what you do and where people can contact you.
Thank you, Randi. Yes, so I work online with clients all around the world. I'm a specialist in narcissistic abuse, particularly in the family system. And I've developed a program, a course. It's a deep dive into the wounds of childhood and releasing you from the negative beliefs that you took on, the negative self-image that you took on that is not true about you. I almost see it as like a saving lives mission. I know that sounds really grandiose.
Well, that's why we do it. That's why we do it.
It is. We are. You know, all of us are called to save our own lives. And you know, so the work I do is both on the cognitive and the subconscious using hypnotherapy. But the thing about it is, you know, I'm not one that sort of likes to hang around and, you know, drag things out. I really love to work within a focused, structured method so we can see, okay, we're moving from here to here to here. Okay, yes, I can. These things are shifting, and there is an end point to it. Not that clients don't come back and still have therapy with me. Some of them do for a short period, but really this is about, let's get in there. Let's take stock here. But then also, and this is the thing for me, let's take responsibility for our lives moving forward. What is it that I need to do now to move on? And also to break that toxic pattern in your life, but also in the rest of the world. You know, this is about breaking this narcissistic pattern around the world, and we have to start with each of us to do that.
So that's so important. That I'm glad that you brought that up, because yes, this is an epidemic worldwide. And you know, people often ask me, how do we stop this? Where do we start? And it starts with us. It starts with each person. It starts with education, which is why you and I do these videos. Christiana has her own Facebook page. She puts out videos every day. How do we access your Facebook page?
So I'm trying to think. I've got a link for it, but I'm putting all my videos. Just started actually putting all my videos on YouTube now.
Perfect.
So if you type in Christiana Davidson, you should see me come up there.
Okay, good.
So that's a way to contact me. I've got a Calendly link. So if anyone wants to book in for a free consultation, I can leave that with you, Randi.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I can put it in the YouTube notes. You can let me know. Fantastic. And I'll put that in the YouTube notes. So this was, what a powerful conversation. We always have very powerful conversations, and you're incredibly insightful into these areas that other people don't really dive into. So I know that those who are watching it are going to derive great help.
I think there's so much more to this, isn't there? We could really unpack it even more, I think.
It is. And I'd love for anyone who's watching this to leave us comments about how this has impacted your life and what maybe this insight has opened up for you in your life. So, and we're here for you, both of us. And you can contact Christiana, and she will be very delighted to work with you. So absolutely. It's been wonderful, as usual.
Thank you, Randi.
We had a great conversation, and we'll do it again soon, okay?
Wonderful.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, Randi.